So, as I said in the previous video, once you've beat one dragon, you can beat them all, right? So now I'm thinking, I've got some significantly more powerful spells. I've got a ranged attacker ally. Now I am surely ready to beat this bastard. At least that's what I'm thinking. And it's kind of messed up because even now, like I am hitting it hard enough to do some damage, but I've had to go really far through the game to get these spells, or at least it seems that way, just to be able to do damage to it, because it's just got so much magic resistance. If I'd have known, you know, that I could have just ran past it and grabbed the bloody key, that would have been the way to do it, really. But yeah. Hindsight, thinking that this was actually gatekeeping me from getting in the academy. Rough deal. Not even mechanically too challenging, it is just a pain in the ass to fight because so much resistance. So it's just a long fight if you're casting. Was genuinely scared of him resetting them, which would have been awful. It's pretty good that my summon got trashed, but a lot of the summons that like shoot with like bows from long range have been absolutely wonderful for these bosses that just keep like disappearing and travelling over long distances. But you're only, you can only really use them if you know that the boss isn't going to turn on them and just blitz them, because a few of them are quite stationary. There's one that I'll recruit later in this video, and she actually just plants her feet, or plants her knees rather, and doesn't move whatsoever. So you have to think about your placement before you even start, which again changes the game. You don't usually get to build a tower defense for an encounter in any other Souls game. I've never known you be able to do that. I mean, about the limited amount of setting up is usually just like clearing an area of other mobs and maybe setting up a buff on the ground. You've never really set up something to protect you in an area, but yeah, it's another unique aspect. I liked having the versatility of the summons, because they really, you've got complete control over adjusting the way the encounter goes. Like some of these summons that you've got available are, they've got clear offensive abilities, but they've got different abilities. Like some incorporate CC, some raw power, some of them are tankier than others. I mean, the Headless having the teleport thing as well, like, so even if he gets stuck on a platform, he can re-engage in a fight, which is pretty useful. There's just, there's quite a few pros and cons. And one of my, I wouldn't even say it's a gripe, to be honest, because I feel like because there's limited amounts of, what would you call it, upgrade materials, you can't necessarily experiment with them all in a single playthrough, or even in 3 playthroughs. You would have to play so much of the game and re-farm souls to actually have a chance to see what they're all like, and at different parts of the game, like in different capacities, because some of the summons are good in the early game and some are better in the late game. Some are just strong right from the moment you get them. So at this point you can see I'm actually finished the academy. And this Red Wolf, honestly, this enemy as a general enemy to fight, I think is really, really difficult. And by now I'm a little bit over leveled for the academy, to be honest. But look at how much of a pasting it's given me, even though I'm overpowered for this area. Like I think if I'd have actually got here at the relevant level, this would have been a real fucking, like, bottleneck for me. I don't think I'd have got through. I'd probably have had to have gone and got stronger elsewhere anyway. It's a miracle I survived this. And to be honest, I never got really good at fighting these, even the ones that are out in the world. I could say I struggled, but it's like you just beat them just out of raw power eventually. But yeah, they're challenging, especially when you have real limited constraints on the room you're trapped in. Couldn't believe that I got a memory stone. So long since I'd got one, and then all of a sudden they all started coming all at once. Like I think I went from having like just 4 spell slots to like 7 within the space of I don't know, 10 hours. Shit. This area, absolute ridiculous. Yeah, but you gain this false sense of security when you start doing huge amounts of damage. Like obviously I got this Glintstone Comet Shard while I was in the academy, and I'm gonna do some Super Mario shit here. But yeah, you think, oh god, I hit so hard now, I'll just batter everything. But you're still the same glass cannon, still just as vulnerable as before. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, what am I trying to do? And I could see that there was an item on that nearby roof, and I was convinced that this is the only way to get this. And you know what? After, I want to say, a few hours of trying, it wasn't that long. I think I got it in 10 minutes. And I did it, and I was overjoyed, because, you know, I'm terrible at platforming. And then later, I'm looking down at that same spot, thinking, shit, I could have just dropped down and got it. Yeah. Gutted. So, at this point now, Renala. Now, again, maybe I was quite strong for this area, but I don't know, she felt like that was the first go, like me dying there. I made a lot of errors trying to get through this first stage, not understanding quite what the time frames were. But I didn't find this fight too hard at all. But to be fair, it kind of favours you fighting with magic yourself, because you're at a range where you can sort of see the spells coming. And they're quite telegraphed. They're not really too tough at all. Having a summon really helps. All mages really can't cope with any kind of like melee pressure. And this applies to even like late game mage enemies, to be honest. They just don't want to have something up in the face attacking them. Pretty much all the glass cannon enemies are going to feel that way as well. So you could have had any summon out and it would have like created enough pressure, I think, to destabilize it. I mean, me having the headless out is... He's not as useful here because she's not teleporting around and stuff, and you'd expect her to be because she's a mage, but yeah, I mean, he's more just disappearing just because he can. All the summons she kept bringing out, I remember thinking, have I actually got to kill these before I can progress? But yeah, it was not the case. So you're more or less just playing a game of attrition, trying to survive all of the bullshit that's coming your way. And that's a bit of a problem as well. So you get to a certain range and then your spells just sort of dissipate. Hers don't, so you've got to be closer than, you know, what I was for some of the fight. But yeah, trying to maintain that mid-range distance, not easy. Because you don't want to be too close so that her spells have got a good chance of hitting you. You also don't want to be too far away so your spells don't hit her. And you are just constantly fishing for that max range tension. And it's a bit of an additional mechanic that you just don't think you're ever going to have to deal with in the early part of the game. Well, the early part of your mage playthrough. It's something that, you know, is melee, you just wouldn't have even thought about it. But yeah, I mean, it didn't make the game any more challenging for me. It was just, you know, because the trade-off is that you could see the attacks coming, so it's about the same in difficulty. So that's the second time, obviously, I've beat a boss at the same time that it's killed me. But it counts. It does count. If the items come up, I've found, it counts. If you don't get the items, it doesn't count. So if they die too late, it doesn't count. So yeah, following on the theory, if you can beat one dragon, you can beat them all. Thought this one gave me and Luke a proper pasting, and I was just thinking to myself, well, just beat this guy now and open up this whole top area. Maybe unlock some more spells. I know I was looking for like Rani and that, and I think my expectation was, you know, wizard hat, wizard spells. I don't think it was any more complicated than that, but yeah, the fact that that dragon just disappears after you've done a little bit of damage to it, it's like, oh, so I didn't need to beat this anyway. So all these like encounters that I've been putting off because I thought I had to like actually kill them, or, you know, get them down to just this tiny portion of their health. Well, I could have took these fights way earlier. That's the problem, you just don't know the way the game's going. But I also don't want to spend like 40 minutes fighting a boss to find out that actually its health pool is enormous and I am wasting my time, because ultimately I will have to, I'm going to run out of mana and then I won't be able to kill it anyway, because I'd have to use my sword and then basically relearn the boss and get slapped. That's, you know, that's the problem switching between two styles when you run out of mana. It would be better if there were more options. So, Meteorite. When I first got this, I had to just go and test it on first thing I found, which was the rats. And then I was looking for an opportunity to use it anywhere. Really had some fun with that. So this is where I start experimenting with the flasks, actually. And I realised that these spells, where they channel, obviously, like, if I can incorporate the flask to increase like magic potency, and also the one that makes me have infinite mana, I can keep channeling. And I was excited to start putting those combinations together. But I realised obviously I could do that with any channeling spell, so all I would have to do is just find these powerhouse channeling spells, and then I'd be able to like link those two abilities together. You can see the homing in spells and it's still just so fucking strong for PvP stuff. That almost put me off PvP, to be honest. That alone, it's like, okay, still the same stupid bullshit wins. And I imagine some players have found ways around it, but do I really want to just spend all of my time in PvP getting my ass handed to me by people who figured out how to dodge homing spells? Because that's all I've got as a mage, I think.
So old Albus entrusted his medallion
So
to you.
yeah, this is that NPC summon. She is an absolute blessing. Her DPS, because she's just left like if she's left unchecked and just, you know, constantly blitzing enemies, is so strong. Really got some good use out of her in the latter half of the game. So, a few opportunities to use, showcase how powerful my bubble is. Yeah, the AoE effect of it is something that might be lost on people at first, but yeah, it's potentially catching sleeping enemies can really do some damage to them. So at this point, I'm actually finding like the last few dungeons that I missed. Obviously, this being like one crystal enemy. I can't remember if this was like below a waterfall at the start of the lake area or something. But yeah, this is the one I probably should have fought before I fought that duo. Would have been insightful for the way that the crystal enemies work, but you know, you can't turn back the clock, so. I like that they've got, you know, interesting mechanics for the way that those mobs actually take damage. Very powerful mage spot there. These guys, I remember when these were just regular enemies when you first encountered them, and it never even occurred to me that these would at some point be bosses. But they would, those attacks when they shoot from the backs, that is challenging to touch. It should have been able to foresee that they become bosses. Like that is just utter. How are you supposed to dodge that? Like if you can't see it? Because I don't feel like the audio cue's enough. Like it's just so fast. You got to keep your eye on them at all times. I remember the Dark Lurker being a bit like that, Dark Souls 2. It's like, yeah, you can. It's all very well and good, you know, just constantly rolling, but if you don't keep an eye on both targets at the same time, you're just mega exposed. Differences with this, you can bring your own summons here, so one can be kept distracted. Invaded by return to God. Okay. I can get an NPC though. Whoa! Whoa! I'm dead.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well,
let's get it.
So this is one of the last times where I think Luke was still playing the game.
I'm gonna see if I can get
and
charge.
yeah, I honestly was not struggling too much with this at all, but Luke kept getting targeted pretty harshly by the ads here and wasn't having a good time.
Wow. I got archers to death while I was killing two different archers.
She stunned him. I couldn't capitalise in time.
Apparently you can stealth it and make a little message. Well, you can be able to stealth off.
Oh man, bringing you in has scaled up things, I think. Fucking hell. So the realization here is, and I knew it would be the case for some encounters. I wasn't sure on what scaling would be like, but
Oh my god.
it's just like with Monster Hunter, I guess. You know, the more people you bring in, the more they scale up the numbers. But this got
I don't know for
to the
magic.
point where it just the fight length is so extended, and I'm so close to finishing this guy. But the damage required is just really high. I mean, a glass cannon build can't even do enough damage. But obviously, it's expecting more out of maybe the NPC or maybe more out of loot if I'm bringing them in. But obviously, it doesn't scale back down again if they die. So you've got to have anyone that you're bringing in has got to be worth the additional risk of them gaining those numbers.
Finish this.
What is annoying here is all I want to do is just get one strike in.
They've killed me.
But the melee hitters are just there, like, you know, too quick, a little bit too quick.